Hello and welcome to Rate That Character, a series where a member of the Source Gaming team gives their opinion on a character's chances at being playable in Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo Switch. We lay out the pros and cons for each character and give a final score out of 100. Please do remember that these are our own individual opinions and do not reflect Sakurai, Nintendo, or even the thoughts of Source Gaming as a whole. With all that out of the way, my name is Spazzy, and let's see who today's character is. The main protagonist of the original Castlevania on the Nintendo Entertainment System, Simon Belmont is a holy warrior with unmatched resolve. As a member of the Belmont clan of vampire hunters and the inheritor of the legendary vampire killer whip, it is his duty to strike down Dracula and his demonic minions whenever they might arise from their slumber. Now, Simon might not be the first Belmont to face down the forces of darkness canonically. That would be his you get the idea, great-grandfather Leon. But he is the first players ever had the opportunity to take control of, and he's also the only one to take down the big bad not once, but twice. Or really closer to 8 times if you count all the remakes. Castlevania is one of the most iconic franchises on both the Nintendo and Super Nintendo Entertainment Systems. The series has appeared on 4 Nintendo home consoles and on every one of the company's handheld systems, including the 2013 3DS title, Castlevania Lords of Shadow, Mirror of Fate. The first 4 titles in the series are often found on Best Of or Top 10 lists for the systems they were made for. For example, when Nintendo Power published the top 20 NES games of all time in 2008, all 3 of the NES-Vania titles made the cut. The series was such a hit, in fact, that Simon Belmont was one of only 2 third-party characters featured as part of the N Team on Captain N the Game Master, a popular cartoon from the 80s. The other third party? Mega Man. So his being in Smash would actually make the game a Captain N reunion of sorts. With over 30 entries since its inception in 1986 and over 20 million units sold, it's not just a retro franchise though. The series may have hit on some lean times, but Simon recently appeared in 2017's Super Bomberman R in the form of Belmont Bomber, and is set to be one of the initial wave of characters for Konami's upcoming mobile offering, Castlevania Grimoire of Souls. Oh, and I almost forgot. A Castlevania animated series debuted on Netflix earlier this year, and with an 86% fresh rating, it is amongst the most well-received video game adaptations of all time. Also, let's face it, his fighting style is a perfect fit for Smash Bros., since his skills with a whip and the series' signature sub-weapon system, featuring items such as knives, flames, axes, and boomerangs, could easily translate to a fighting game move list, and has in fact done so twice. First in 2003's Japan-only Party Fighter, Dream Mix TV World Fighters, and then in 2008's Castlevania Judgment on the Wii. Interestingly enough, it appears that Masahiro Sakurai himself has a fondness for the franchise. From the Sakurai and Nomura interview, which you can find in a link below, he goes on to say the following. As a generation, a lot of us were directly impacted by the dawn of the PC and the home gaming console. For me personally, it was the year 1986, when games like The Legend of Zelda and Castlevania were released, and I experienced physically interactive games. They had a big impact on me. While I don't want to read too much into what Sakurai says in interviews when judging a character's chances in Smash, I think it's worth noting that the first game in the series, which stars Simon, is mentioned right along The Legend of Zelda as a game that had an impact on him in the days before he was a developer. Castlevania is not the premier franchise it once was. Recent titles in the series are lucky to reach 1 million in sales, and the last game to release on a console was 2014's Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2. Really, let's face it, being a Konami character in 2018 isn't easy. The company has not been releasing much in the way of non-mobile games, and it's fair to question if a character from the company will appear in Smash at all. Still, the fact that Konami had a huge presence on the Wii U Virtual Console and on the NES and SNES Classic, with Castlevania, does bode well for a possible fighter's inclusion. Then there's the fact that the series is far more popular in the West than in the East. That's yet another way the series is a lot like Metroid. When PushDustIn researched the wants of Japanese gamers in regards to Smash in 2015, for example, Simon did not come up once. It seems like Goemon from the Mystical Ninja series might actually be the preferred Konami retro choice in Japan. And it doesn't just stop with Goemon, as Simon is fighting for a spot with other Konami fighters such as Snake and Bomberman. Now, we know there's no hard and fast rule stating that a third-party company is only allowed a certain number of characters, but with limited resources and contract negotiations being what they are, I doubt we'll see more than 2 or 3 reps per company. Another strike against Simon is that he is not the only protagonist from his home series, so other characters, such as Dracula's son Alucard, might be considered in his stead. When it comes to Simon Belmont, I honestly think the pros outweigh the cons. He's one of the few remaining icons from the NES era that remains somewhat relevant today, and he has all the tools to make for a truly interesting Smash character. Still, he's up against some tough competition, and his series has seen better days, so he is far from a shoo-in. With all that said, let's see the final score. Before we go, thanks to our patrons for supporting us, in particular our super patron, the Duke of Dorks. You'll find a link to his channel in the description. Thank you for watching today's Rate That Character. If you enjoyed it, give this video a like and show it to your friends. Let us know your thoughts on today's character and suggest any future ones for the series. Subscribe to keep up with our content, and remember to return to the source.